Good evening, everyone. We are ready to get started. If you want to go ahead and get to your seat, please, we will go ahead and get started. So, welcome to our third and final panel tonight, our forum tonight. I'm Vicki Bradley, and I'm a proud representative of two of the organizations that are helping put on these forums. And this is the third forum. I represent the Oasis Center for Women and Girls. I'm a board member. And I'm also the president-elect of the Junior League of Tallahassee, so also on that board. Um, and a lot of other things, but it's not about me. It's about our candidates. We are so excited to have you all here. What you are here for tonight is a forum that was put together by women and girls in the collaboration of women and girls serving organizations. So I want to start by giving some recognition to the organizations that are part of this forum that you are here for tonight. Club 25. All right. Cultivating Queens, Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, Girls to Divas, the Junior League of Tallahassee, Ladies Learning to Lead L3, League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, the Oasis Center for Women and Girls, Refuge House, She Academy, Sister Girls, Survive and Thrive Advocacy Center, the Tallahassee Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and Women Wednesday. So please give it to all these organizations. They all help put this together. And what is very unique about this is 14 organizations. These forums have been the first time these organizations have come together and put together forums of this level. Tonight's candidates, who you see up on the stage, they are running for the Tallahassee City Commission seat 2. So we will be asking a series of questions tonight related specifically to issues that impact women and girls, which is really important to all of us here tonight. Sorry, I just lost my script. Ms. Inman-Johnson and Mr. Curtis Richardson, who is the incumbent for the current seat. I'm going to go through some brief bios, so bear with me. Ms. Inman-Johnson is the first woman to serve on the Tallahassee City Commission as an appointee in 1984 and was later the first Black woman elected to the Tallahassee City Commission in 1986 for 4-year terms in seat 5. Ms. Inman-Johnson also served as mayor in 1989 and again in 1993. She is a former public school educator of 28 years, former executive director for the Capital Area Community Action Agency for over 14 years, and has served as a founder and board member of various nonprofits in our community and Big Bend region. She's a published author and a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Thank you so much for being here tonight. All right, Commissioner Curtis Richardson currently serves as Mayor Pro Tem and is the incumbent on the Tallahassee City Commission 2, which we're here for tonight. Mr. Richardson and his wife have resided in Tallahassee for 30 years. Commissioner Richardson began his public service career in 1990. He was the first, with his election to the Leon County School Board, he was the first Black man elected to that post and served 2 years as board chairman. In 2000, he was elected to the Florida House of Representatives for District 8 and served 2 terms in the House. Thank you for being here tonight. 4 terms in the House. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate a good fact check. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right, so what's going to happen tonight? We will have a series of questions. Some of them will reference studies that were done. There are QR codes around so you can get more information. So you see the QR codes on the wall. My online people, I know you can't see them on the wall, but they're here, they exist. So really important information around. So again, if something comes up and you're like, I wanted more information about that, scan the QR code. Now I'm going to introduce our lovely moderators tonight, my ladies to the right, who will be asking questions to the candidates this evening. We have Carla Juarez Farley, who is Communications and Marketing Manager at IEM, a leading disaster recovery an emergency management consultant firm. Carla is also a former president of the Junior League of Tallahassee and is currently the first chair of the Capital Area chapter of the American Red Cross Board of Directors. Kaya B. Williamson is the newest leading lady for Ladies Learning to Lead, L3. She is a high school senior at Florida State University Schools and currently enrolled at Tallahassee State College. She is also the co-captain of FSUS flag football team. Look at you. And Vice President of National Achievers Society. She was also selected as the Distinguished Young Woman of West Leon County. Please give a hand for our moderator tonight. All right, again, so here's how it will work. We will rotate asking questions between candidates. Um, you each will have 1 minute response time. We have our lovely timekeepers right here, Rebecca and Leslie. Thank you for keeping us on track. You will get a yellow card up, so just a preview, yellow, when you have 15 seconds left. When your time is over, you will see that lovely red card. That means please complete your sentence and wrap. Thank you in advance. Everyone should have also received a slip of paper that you can write your question down. We have volunteers who will come around and collect those sheets of paper. If you are online, we welcome you to drop your questions, in the comments section of whichever online page you're following us on tonight. We also want to give a big shout out to Temerity and Company for your assistance with the live stream, so making it possible for people who can't be here to be here. All right, so I know that was a mouthful. I said a lot. Do we have any questions before we kick this off? All right, with no questions, we will get started with Carla.
All right.
Take it away.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Yes? Okay, great. Well, thank you both for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and start off, and here is the question. What do you think is the most pressing issue women face in our community right now, and how can you address that issue in office? I will go ahead and start with Ms. Inman-Johnson.
I think the most pressing issue is just dealing with life and all of the issues that they have to address as working women who don't have the luxury mostly of being able to stay home and take care of their kids, with the high poverty rate in our community. For a lot of women, and the high poverty rate, based on the last information from the census, was at 25.4%, which means 1 out of every 4 people in Tallahassee is living in desperate poverty. Child care and issues that they need help with to make sure they can be the best that they can be.
Thank you, ma'am. And similarly, I can repeat the question one more time. What do you think is the most pressing issue women face in our community right now, and how can you address that issue in office, Commissioner Richardson?
Thank you, Carla. I am the proud father of 2 beautiful daughters. I'm a girl dad, and my wife, Nina, and I've been very active in a number of women's organizations and championing women's causes. And so I've had the opportunity, even today, I was at the Chamber's Professional Women's Forum, where they were talking about self-care and how women need to take care of themselves and be conscious of their health, both physical health and mental health, as they navigate the challenges of life. And as Ms. Johnson mentioned, there is a lot of pressure on women these days to be, in a lot of instances, the head of household, particularly among African American women, but also to earn a living, to take care of the family, to be involved in the community, as many of you all are. So there's a pressure on them, but it's up to, can I just finish this? Okay, all right. It's up to the men in their lives to be supported, and that's what I've tried to do for my wife, as she has navigated all the challenges facing women in today's society.
So according to the United Nations, 1 in 4 teens and 1 in 3 adults struggle to afford period products, especially teens of color and lower-income households. In 2021, the city of Tallahassee committed to installing free period product dispensers in City Hall and city community centers. This hasn't happened. Will you commit to providing free period products in every restroom at city-run buildings during the next 4 years, and commit to taking the leadership role in ensuring that it happens? We'll start with Commissioner Richardson.
Oh, yeah, this is a very important issue. And like I said, being a girl dad, I'm familiar with those issues. I had to deal with them in some instances with my girls. But yeah, the young lady from Rickards who started this movement, if you will, in Leon County, I followed her. I attended a number of the events. I know that Dana of Sick Brooks was very involved with this issue. I am shocked that we made that commitment and it hasn't happened. And I can assure you that when I get back to City Hall or when I call the city manager tomorrow, I will find out why, because that is so important, especially for a lot of low-income young ladies who can't afford those products, and they need to be available to them where they are. If it's City Hall, at school, wherever they find themselves, they need to have those products available to them. So I will look into that first thing tomorrow morning.
Ms. Inman-Johnson?
The answer to the question is yes. And I want to take the rest of my time to introduce my husband, Reverend Lee Johnson, who also happens to be my campaign manager. And note that he's raising his hand. And also note that he and I are the parents of a blended family of girls, young ladies, I should say, and young men. And we have several 28 grandchildren and 6 great grands. So, uh, you might know one of my grandchildren, Keyshawn Inman, who graduated last class from Florida High.
Okay.
No, thank you
Uh,
for that. Moving on to the next question.
Okay.
In 2018, Miami-Dade County, who enacted a baby diaper changing accommodations ordinance, which stipulates diaper changing stations be provided in both men and women's bathrooms in all new buildings applying occupancy permit. In addition, it was retroactively applied to buildings that received their occupancy permit after February 1999. Would you support a similar city ordinance here in Tallahassee? And we will start with Ms. Inman-Johnson.
Yes, I would.
And Commissioner Richardson.
Oh, absolutely. Being a girl dad, I changed a lot of diapers. And, when we were out in the public, and when their diaper did need changing, their mother often had to find a place to get that done. And I almost felt cheated because I wanted to do it. I did hair and I took my daughters to school. I was a real girl dad and am that even to this day. But no, I do believe that that should be the case, um, that you should have changing tables in bathrooms for both men and women, and that we should have the opportunity to change our children's diapers just like the women do.
Thank you both.
So, according to the national report, the business case for childcare, the cost of childcare exceeds the affordability level of 80% of families, and only 13% of families can afford a childcare program rated as high quality. Women are still the primary people impacted by this, and the lack of affordable childcare leads women to quit their jobs, interrupt their professional advancement, as well as higher rates of absenteeism at work and many other things. How have you been involved with discussions about affordable childcare, and how might you be able to champion this issue during the next 4 years? We'll start with Commissioner Richard.
Thank you. It's interesting because my oldest daughter, was in town today to celebrate my birthday, and we went to breakfast. And this subject came up because we were talking about the preschool that my daughters attended, Creative Preschool. I'll give them a shameless plug. When we started there, it was $400 a month. When we left Creative, it was about either $900 or $1,000 a month. I think it's 12 or 1,400 per month now for childcare. So it is a burden on a lot of families, especially single women who are trying to work and pay all the bills in the household. We had that conversation as a commission sometime not too long ago. And I know the issue came up. I don't know, I can't recall what the follow-up was, but I will certainly get that information. I know one of the things we talked about was maybe partnering with some other agencies if the city itself couldn't afford it, but partnering with some other agencies, maybe to make that available and to make it available during the hours that the mother worked, not just the 8 to 5, because not all mothers work 8 to 5.
Ms. Inman-Johnson.
Yes, I serve on the South City Foundation Board of Directors, and we just opened an early care center in the old Wesser School, recognizing the need for families in that part of the community to have child care available to them when they need it. Also, our church was had a 501c3 safe spaces for kids over in the Orange Avenue projects where we saw children wandering around unsupervised all times of the day. And we started an after school program and a summer camp program to make sure those children had supervised, enriching activities to be involved in at all times.
Thank you.
Recently, with input from several of the organizations sponsoring this forum, the Leon County Commission expanded their parental leave policy to 8 weeks with 100% pay for both the mother and father and including adoption. It's a good start, but children still need more time with their families in the early months of their lives. Would you be willing to support the city working on an even more comprehensive parental leave policy? And again, Ms. Johnson, I'll start with you.
That's a good question. In watching the presidential debate, one of the candidates has been very forthcoming on what to do about families and their needs for help in that regard. And I think we will probably get a lot of help in local government to provide exactly what you're talking about if the right candidate wins. When she wins.
Thank you, Ms. Inman-Johnson.
Could you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, no worries. Recently, with input from several of the organizations sponsoring this forum, the Leon County Commission expanded parental policy to 8 weeks with 100% pay for mother, father, including adoption. It's a good start. However, right, more time
Sure.
with the families. Would you be willing to support the city working on an even more comprehensive parental policy leave?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the policy is now, but certainly if it needs amending to be more appropriate for the families, then certainly I would support that. I think it's important that mothers especially, but fathers as well, like I said, I'm a big girl dad, have the time to spend with a newborn, to go through that bonding period, for them to adjust to having, a baby in the house or a young one in the house. So yeah, I would certainly look at strengthening that policy to give more parental leave if it's necessary. Like I said, I don't know exactly what our policy is currently. I would certainly be willing to take a look at that and see what we can do if we need to make it more accommodating for families.
Thank you.
So, what do you think is the most pressing? Sorry. Thank you. So, what do you think is the most pressing issue that girls face in our community right now, and how have you worked on those issues, or how can you plan to address that issue in office? We'll start with Commissioner Richardson.
You know, I don't have an opportunity to work with girls in the office that I hold, but certainly I've had 2 daughters. And one of the things that I have tried to instill in them is having a strong sense of identity and self-esteem. And that's what we've been able to encourage in our daughters. I have had long conversations with them. I think that that's one of the issues that many girls in our community struggle with, is their sense of self-esteem and self-identity, who they are And so I think there's just a lot of work to be done in that area. And both husbands and wives, I really believe that, men need to be involved with their daughters and provide that kind of example for them. That's what my wife and I try to do. We have shown our daughters, exactly what a relationship should be like, and trying to encourage them to have a strong sense of self and self-esteem.
Thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson?
They need a lot of encouragement in the home and in the community to build their self-confidence, their understanding that I can do it. Growing up in a very low-income environment in Birmingham, Alabama, I did not have the support in the home that I needed. My dad had a third-grade education. My mom had an eighth-grade education. If it had not been for two teachers in my high school, I would not be here today, who took me under their wing and showed me what I was capable of doing. And we all have to be role models, mentors, to help our girls to understand they can do whatever they want to do.
Thank you.
Righty. So about 40% of coming to 211 of the Big Bend are for housing, and the majority of those are women with children. Women and children living in cars has reached critical levels. What specific measures or policies have you taken or would you take to support women and families to find stable housing in our community? John, start with you.
First of all, I was executive director of Capital Area Community Action Agency for 14 years. That was one of the responsibilities we had. When we realized that there were mothers with children who were not going to the shelter because they did not feel safe that families could go there, we created our own temporary emergency shelter program for the period of time that it would take for them to be declared eligible for one of the family housing shelters. We have we also made sure families did not get evicted from the housing they already had. We were the federally funded agency that received those dollars to do that. We need to do more, though, to build places so that we have affordable housing for everybody, especially rental housing that is very expensive here.
Thank you, ma'am. And Commissioner Richardson?
Thank you, Carla. Uh, I smile because that has been a top priority of mine since I came to the City Commission, and it is the second highest priority, second only to public safety in our strategic plan for the City of Tallahassee. I took a lead role in getting the financing for Columbia Gardens at South City, which was an old, dilapidated federal government housing project. And it's turned now into something we all would be proud to live in because of my efforts to get it included in the CRA district and get some of the initial funding. I serve on the board of directors of the Tallahassee Lenders Consortium with Cheryl. And the Lenders Consortium is a partner with the City of Tallahassee to build or repair housing in low-income neighborhoods for women and families. I also serve on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for the City of Tallahassee, and we are responsible for recommending policies to the city that we can adopt that will make it even easier for us to provide low-income actually the range of income housing, but our emphasis is on low-income housing for individuals and families in our community.
Thank you.
So, what policies and initiatives have you supported or would you support to protect LGBTQ plus citizens and visitors from discrimination and violence in Tallahassee. Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, thank you. You know, we have an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with the city of Tallahassee. And one of the things we do through that office is to require each of our employees on an annual basis to take training in diversity and what that means and, you know, the different types of diversity. It's not just race and gender, but it's also sexual preference. And we make sure that all of our employees understand what the needs and characteristics of each of those different populations are, and that we have to make sure that we are fair and that we are consistent in how we treat all of our employees, regardless of what their preference is.
Thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson.
Yes, first I want to say that I've been endorsed by Florida Rising, which is a social action group that makes sure there is no discrimination regardless of race, gender, whatever. And all of those services mentioned by Commissioner Richardson have been there long before he was a commissioner. We were emphasizing all of those issues on rights of all of our citizens way back when I was first elected in 1986.
A 2021 survey from LinkedIn revealed that 64% of working mothers cited flexibility, so remote work, flexible hours, as the top workplace benefit they need. What policies or initiatives would you support or have you support that accommodate new mothers in workplaces? Ms. Inman-Johnson.
Thank you. From before I became a commissioner and throughout my career, I have supported women in their ability to be in the career field and do their jobs as parents. At Florida High, I developed the Family School Community Partnership Grant Program that set up a Blue Ribbon Award for employers who had on-site daycare, who gave their employees leave time off to take care of their children in school, and all of those different things that help to support the needs of a family. And we had an awards dinner every year to recognize those employers.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, you know, COVID-19 made all of us aware of the need to work from home or to work remotely and still accomplish the tasks that needed to be accomplished in the workplace. And it's so interesting because even since then, now you have employers that give their employees that kind of flexibility. And the work is still done, the quality of the work is not affected at all. It gives employees the kind of flexibility that they need, especially if, you know, a child is sick and they need to stay home with the child. They can still work from home. And so with the city of Tallahassee, I know we utilize that in any instance that we're able to with our employees. If they need to take time but can still from home using technology, be able to accomplish the tasks that they are assigned in their respective position. But yeah, COVID-19 made all of us aware of utilizing working remotely as a tool for getting things done.
Hey, I'm gonna pause for just a second. We are halfway through. This is a reminder. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, write them on a sheet of paper. One of our lovely volunteers will get it. And I'm speaking in my outside voice, so people on the stream, if you have a question, this is your reminder to drop your question in the comment section.
Thank you. Everyone using a mic, can you really talk into it because I'm getting feedback that can't really be heard.
Oh.
Use your mic, it's there for a reason.
Okay. So, how have you or how do you plan to promote culturally responsive policies within City Hall that ensures that women and girls from all backgrounds feel represented and supported to participate in city government? Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, we have an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And Angela Henrith is our executive director. She does a phenomenal job of keeping that issue at the forefront. Commissioner Williams Cox and I, as the African Americans that serve on the city commission, we're always making sure that the city manager is cognizant of the fact that the workforce of the city of Tallahassee needs to reflect the population of the city that we serve. We've got women in a lot of leadership and high-level positions. Our deputy city manager is female. Many of our assistant city managers are female. And so that is an important issue for us. And through our Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, we make sure that all employees of the city of Tallahassee keep those policies in mind on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson?
It's important that the leadership, the executive leadership, keep those policies in mind because many employees in city government feel that they are being managed by fear and intimidation, and they don't get the opportunities that upper level employees receive. And when I was there before, there was a grievance by an employee and they felt management was not giving the appropriate attention to their grievance or they were siding with each other. I created a second tier grievance procedure that brought professionals from the HR field in the community on so that employees choose between the HR grievance procedure and the second tier.
Can I, just a quick rebuttal? A single commissioner cannot develop policy like that. So and this was 30 years ago when Ms. Inman-Johnson served on the commission, and a single commissioner cannot make that kind of policy. We can't even get involved in personnel matters in the city. We have to go through the city manager. So I can't see how that could have been the case at the time.
That's the reason we need a change.
For how they're operating, don't have time for rebuttal.
Well, he
I
rebutted,
think that's
so
what
Okay.
I'm saying. So for moving on, there will be no rebuttal.
may I rebut that?
You can finish, yes, your statement, yes.
Yes. As a single commissioner, I did not make the policy. I introduced the policy, and the rest of the commission voted on it. Maybe others can initiate things that make it easier for employees in city government.
Thank you both. So I've got a twofer for you. How do you plan to ensure access to affordable health care, including reproductive health services for women and girls? And also, do you support Amendment 4? Ms. Inman-Johnson?
I enthusiastically support Amendment 4. And I want to say that between the birth of my two children, I started to miscarriage while I was teaching at Timberlane Elementary School and had to drive myself to the emergency room, have my DNC. If that happened to me today, I would be charged with a crime of aborting my baby. And the doctor at the hospital would not have been able to give me that medical procedure. I strongly support a woman's right to choose and a woman's health. The commissioner voted against the resolution for choice and women's health that was presented to the city commission.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Carla. Despite what you've heard from Ms. Inman-Johnson or you've heard on this campaign trail, I am in favor of a woman's right to choose. I always have been, and I always will be. I want my wife and my daughters to have that right, and the government should not be involved in that decision whatsoever. And so if you hear that out there, that Curtis, I voted against sending a resolution to the governor's office because I didn't believe that that issue was a local government issue, and it is not. I voted against, let me say that again, sending a resolution to the governor's office because that issue is not a local government issue. And the governor, as he did, it totally ignored, I don't know, of the 400 municipalities in the state that were asked to adopt that resolution, I don't think only a handful did. And he ignored those municipalities and their resolutions, and you see what we have today in the state of Florida. I support a woman's right to choose.
You guys actually got me another time. Um, so it appears to many people that the tension and discord between commissioners is hurting governance of the city. Do you agree or disagree with this observation? Follow up there. If you agree, how can you help improve relationships during the next 4 years? Ms. Inman-Johnson.
I would like to say that I did receive Tallahassee Now's endorsement in this campaign. But with the situation with the divisiveness on the city commission, it comes about because the majority on the city commission does not respect all of the members of the commission. That Porter has been blocked from serving as mayor pro tem 3 different times, and the position has passed back and forth between Curtis and Diane to prevent her having her turn to serve as mayor pro tem. So it's hard to say you support women when you do those kinds of things.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Carla. I don't know that it has stopped us from moving this city forward. All of us on a daily basis see how the city of Tallahassee is efficiently run, the growth that we're seeing in the city, the growth of our business community, the organizations that we support throughout the community. Listen, I have served on 3 collegial bodies, the school board, the legislature, and now the commission. I have demonstrated that I can work with my colleagues in each of those capacities to establish policy and move the city forward. In the example of the city of Tallahassee, I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to work with me. I supported Commissioner Matlow when he ran for the first time for the city commission. We don't have a good working relationship now, I will admit that, but that certainly does not prohibit us or block us from moving this city forward. Our city is still very well run and is recognized for being an all-America city.
Thank you both.
So, fear of harassment or assault significantly impacts a woman's transportation choices. 56% of women in cities
I
in the
can't-
U.S.
I can't hear.
Apologies. Fear of harassment or assault significantly impacts women's transportation choices. 56% of women in cities in the U.S. avoid taking public transportation at night due to safety concerns, which impacts their mobility and access to opportunities. We know anecdotally from the women the organizations work with that this is true in Tallahassee, although not what percentage feel unsafe. How can you ensure that public transportation is safe and accessible for women and girls? Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, I'm just really surprised to hear that because in the 10 years I've been on the commission, I've never heard that about our transportation system, Star Metro. We've got a female director of our public transportation system, Ms. Angela Baldwin, and she's never shared that with me. If that is the case, and I certainly will now go back and talk with the city manager to let him know that that is an issue for our transportation system, and if it is, it certainly needs to be addressed and addressed expeditiously. If that be the case, I've not had anyone bring that issue to me, and like I said, nor has Ms. Baldwin mentioned that it will issue for her. But we certainly will make whatever investments we need to make, security on the buses, if that it takes, make our ridership feel safe in that environment.
Thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson?
Well, since I'm not currently on the city commission, I don't get those kinds of reports coming in, but I had not been aware that there was a safety concern on Star Metro either. My issue with Star Metro was when the Amazon contract was negotiated and a subsidy, there should have been a bus route negotiated to take people who really needed those good wage jobs and benefits to Amazon. I'm happy to find out Amazon has become a wonderful corporate citizen in making available vans that transport people from different neighborhoods so that they can take advantage of the benefits and those jobs.
Thank you.
We are, I believe we're nearing
Whoa.
the end. I know. So last question from me. The good news is that 42% of all businesses in the United States are women owned, and that the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs is Black women. This is a significant increase from past decades. However, the bad news is that these businesses tend to be smaller, generate less revenue, and employ fewer people than those owned by men. How can you help ensure that women in Tallahassee have equal access to contracts with the city? And Ms. Inman-Johnson.
We have several chambers of commerce for small businesses, women-owned businesses, as well as the Greater Tallahassee Chamber. But what the city needs to do is make a greater investment in supporting those businesses, because small businesses are the ones that support the community more than a lot of these conglomerates, because they are major employers, just like most of the nonprofits in this room. You are major employers in our community, and we should be treating you as small businesses as well for the revenue you bring in, not just through what you do in your everyday business, but for the money outside in federal and state grants that you bring into this community to support it.
And Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Carla. That has been an issue for me since I was first elected to public office. When I got elected to the school board, I had women and minority-owned businesses that came to me and said, Mr. Richardson, we cannot get business with Leon County Schools. And what did I do? I advocated for establishing an MWSBE program, Small Women and Minority Business Enterprise Program, so that they could competitively compete, if you will, for the contracts and services that the school district awarded. We have a very strong program, MWSBE program. It's a joint program now between the city and the county. Daryl Jones is our executive director in the Office of Economic Vitality. I can tell you that women and minority-owned businesses are getting more contracts with the city of Tallahassee now than they have in the history of this city, and it's largely because of the emphasis we place on that through the Office of Economic Vitality, our MWSBE program.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is my last question.
Okay.
So you have both provided decades of community leadership to Tallahassee, and we are very grateful for that. Looking
you.
back on your service, regardless of what organization you worked for or elected position you had, what is the one way you know you have had the biggest impact on the lives of women and girls here? Commissioner? Start.
Well, I wrote down a list of the women's organizations that I belong to or have belonged to, and it's about six. League of Women Voters, Women Wednesday, Capital City Democratic Women's Club. I'm the liaison to the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and the one that I'm most proud of, y'all, I am an honorary sister girl from the Sister Girl Network. And through those organizations, I have championed women's issues and worked with those organizations to improve the condition of women in our community.
Thank you. And Ms. Inman-Johnson?
I have probably been an officer or served on more boards in Tallahassee than you can name. I was the president of the Girl Scout Council, president of Capital Area Healthy Start, chair of several organizations, and also I created our board and brought Capital Area Community Action Agency out of crisis when the funding was about to be pulled back. In addition, I have been appointed to presidential national offices on boards, one of only two members of President Clinton's National Advisory Committee on reauthorization of Superfund to Congress, and several others by the American Institute of Architects. So I have national, state, and local experience really solving problems for people in our community.
Thank you both.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna grab the mic back. We are not finished just yet. We do have a lightning round.
Okay.
And science questions. So for our lightning round, we will start with Commissioner Richardson.
Mhm.
We need you both to give your answer in one sentence.
Okay.
Tight.
All right.
Lightning. Commissioner Richardson, do you believe sexism is a problem in our community, including City Hall?
Because of our strong policy at City Hall, I don't think it's an issue there. And if it is, I certainly hope that women would feel comfortable to bring that to our Human Resources office. But generally, I think sexism still occurs in our society and needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson, same question.
I think there are women in City Hall who feel it still exists.
All right, Ms. Inman-Johnson, staying with you. What is one thing you've learned from the forum that you were not aware of prior to today?
It's hard to think of something.
Okay. Commissioner Richardson, same question.
Yeah, I think what I learned, and again, I certainly commit to looking to it, is the fact that we have ridership on Star Metro that don't feel safe in that space. And I certainly will put in a call to the city manager tomorrow to begin to address that issue.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Richardson, staying with you. How have you used your position to encourage the observance of Women's History Month in March?
Well, we have, the city observes, of course, Women's History Month, and we do those things that are necessary. I don't think we have the day off for Women's History Month, but we try to establish programs throughout the course of the month, recognizing especially the women in our organization, but women in our community who are making a contribution to Tallahassee becoming the all-American city that she has twice been designated
Thank
in
you.
the past.
Ms. Inman-Johnson, same question.
Looking at Kelly Oddie back there when she was Oasis, Center for Girls. I was one of the first pioneers honored on the calendar.
That concludes the lightning round. Now we will go to questions. Something I will say, we had a lot of questions come in. Obviously, we cannot get to all of them. So we had online questions. We had questions that you all handed out. So I'm just going to randomly pull questions and ask questions.
Okay.
More than likely, we only get to 3 or 4 questions. We do ask that you keep your answers tight so we can get to as many as possible. And I obviously am not ready, so I'm just reading it to myself quick. Commissioner Richardson, we'll start with you. In efforts to make Tallahassee a #1 city in women, what programs and actions can be taken to increase the level of pay for women in business and the workplace?
I'm not sure I understand.
Let me try to cut it
Yeah.
down. So let's
Please
start
do.
here. What programs and or actions can we take to increase the level of pay for women in business and in the workplace? So
Well,
pay.
Well, I mean, that's an issue that those in private industry would have to address. Certainly in the city, we make sure that women, based on their background and experience and the position that they hold, that their pay and compensation is equitable to the men in the organization. So I can tell you, we do address that with the city of Tallahassee.
All right, thank you. Ms. Inman-Johnson, same question.
I would say look beyond the executive level to make sure that there is fair and equitable pay all the way down the pay ladder in city government. Until recently, all employees did not at least receive a $15 an hour pay rate.
All right, thank you. Next question. What girl/women issue will you be ready to address on day one? We'll start with Ms. Inman-Johnson.
What,
No, sorry.
can I get the question?
No, that's my fault. What girl or women's issue will you be ready to address on day one?
Fairness and equity for women and girls.
All right, Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, well, what I heard today is the whole issue of family leave and addressing that issue as it relates to city employees.
All right, thank you. Staying with you, Commissioner Richardson. How do or would you plan to support and promote the leadership of women in local government and decision-making roles within the community?
Oh, there's no question that I've been a champion of that in every elected position that I've held, and done it at City Hall, and it's reflected in the makeup of the employees. Like I said, our deputy city manager is an African-American female. Several of our assistant city managers are female, and that's because our city manager understands that that is an important issue for us as a commission. And if he's going to keep his job, we expect him to show that kind of commitment in the makeup of the employees of the city.
Thank you, Ms. Inman-Johnson.
By not allowing the city manager to control everything that happens in City Hall. Cassandra Jackson was the first African-American city attorney in city government, and she was driven out of city government because of the hostile environment that was created by the city manager and his staff. And I would not have allowed that to happen. The
Thank you.
commissioner made no comment to support her.
All right, thank you for that response. Next question, can you describe an action plan to implement the pro-girls or women's policies discussed here today? Inman-Johnson will stay with you.
Could you read it again?
Yeah, can you describe an action plan to implement the pro-girls or women policies discussed here today? So things that were discussed to implement.
The first thing would be to work with nonprofits in the community, on what strategic plans we can coordinate and cooperate on in the community to make sure it's a community-wide effort that the city supports.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
Well, first of all, I want to say that with Ms. Jackson, I was the one that advocated for her to get the job as the first African-American female city attorney.
Okay,
In terms of action plans that can be,
We're not rebuttaling. Can you answer the question, please?
in terms of action plans, we would have to go through the city manager. The city commission cannot take action unilaterally. We have to work through our city manager, and certainly he will take input from us and pass that on to staff in terms of the policies and action plans that we want to see implemented in City Hall
Thank you,
or
Commissioner.
throughout the city of Tallahassee.
Commissioner, we'll stay with you. This is a long one, so
Okay.
everyone bear with me.
Okay.
There has frequently been talks the past few years regarding affordable housing, but there are also development projects meant to bring more jobs to Tallahassee. How would you ensure that the jobs coming into our community pay a rate or salary that can secure housing for employees?
Well, I mean, I can't assure that, but those businesses that we recruit, just like we recruited Amazon and Danfoss, Turbocore, and some of the others, those were some of the things that our staff discussed with them that we would certainly expect them to adhere to, a livable wage for those employees. And in both cases, both Amazon and Danfoss, Turbocore, they have done that. And we have been an example. All of our employees now make at least $15 an hour.
Thank you, Ms. Inman-Johnson. Let me repeat the question. There has frequently been talks the past few years regarding affordable housing, but there are also development projects meant to bring more jobs to Tallahassee. How would you ensure that jobs coming into our community pay a rate or salary that can secure housing for employees?
That would be done at the time of the development agreement and site planning and negotiations with the city, where you elicit support from the developer while you are making concessions to the developer for infrastructure and other things that they will need for their development to make sure they're good corporate citizens and they are going to benefit all of our Tallahassee residents.
Thank you. That concludes our lightning round. We got through about 6 questions, I think. So
Okay.
Good job with the timing. Can we give it up for our candidates participating tonight?
Thank you.
Thank you both for taking your time being here and answering the questions and participating in this one-of-a-kind type of forum. So thank you. Also, can we give it up for our moderators?
Yes.
Timekeepers. The lovely ladies in the back of Tallahassee volunteers who helped our food tonight. And all of the women and girls collaborative groups that helped make the night a success. Again, this was one of 3 forums, so this was the 3rd one. And I have to say, the groups did a great job. Big shout out to Stephanie Shoemate, who
Yes, definitely.
was very instrumental in helping all of this come together. So I had to call you out, I'm sorry. Special thanks to Leon County Library and the staff for providing us with this space this evening. All right, look, so here's the deal. You heard from the candidates. We have an incredibly big election coming up on
Yes.
so many levels, right? So we want to make sure that you guys have information that's really important in case you don't. So here are some dates to keep in mind. Early voting, Monday, October 21st. So mark that on the calendar. Your deadline to request your ballot be mailed to you, 5 p.m. on October 24th. And the biggest of all of them, if you don't do any of the other things I mentioned, is Election Day. Polls open at 7. They close at 7. If you are in line before 7 o'clock, you can still vote. So don't let anyone tell you cannot. Just something important to keep in mind. It has been a pleasure serving as your MC tonight.
Great
Again, we
job.
appreciate. Thank you. We appreciate everyone's coming out. We did live stream this forum and the other forums, so if you don't mind, share this one again. Go back and watch the others. Share those again. Everybody have a good night and a safe trip home. And thank you to everyone who hung out with us on the live stream. Hopefully you hear me. I tried. But thank you all. Have a great night.